Hi, and welcome back to Queens Behind the Scenes, where we have another powerful episode of a queen making waves. We are pulling back the curtain on power, purpose, and the women making history while living it. Today's episode is especially meaningful as we close out our celebration of Women's History Month with a conversation that speaks to legacy, leadership, and limitless possibilities. Our guest is not only a change maker, she's a barrier breaker. Destiny Drake West is joining us, and she is a dynamic leader with experience across key federal agencies like HUD and HHS. She's a policy expert, a community advocate, a mother, and she ran for Congress as a candidate in Maryland's 6th district. And let me tell you, she was not just running for office. She was running with purpose. Okay. We are going to unpack what it means to step into leadership unapologetically, including her powerful decision to run for office while she was pregnant. Yeah, you heard that. She was pregnant. She's redefining what leadership looks like, and she's doing it with style, smarts, and strength. But first, let's welcome Destiny. Destiny, welcome to Queens Behind the Scenes. We are so honored to have you here.
Charise, I am so excited. And thank you so much for having me and for just that very, very generous introduction. I'm really excited to unpack this and get into this discussion.
Yes, and I will tell everybody. So Destiny and I met. First of all, we're both Aquarius, I think, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we met at a mutual friend. She had a little party of a celebration, and we met there, and we were just kindred right away. And I feel like that has been this way with every woman I've had on the show. I'm like, my goodness, they are like my sisters. I feel so close to them. And after understanding and learning their powerful stories, I feel even more honored to know them. But Destiny and I met just a fluke of being in the same place. And we had a conversation. We are both have Southern accents. And we just gelled very much right away. And I just was so excited. I was like, let me get your number. You are going to be on my podcast because we're highlighting amazing women. And that was the whole goal of my platform. So before we dive deep into the stuff, tell us what actually drives you. What lit the fire for you to serve, especially in like the political space, as volatile as that can be?
Well, that is an easy question to answer for me because I have always wanted to run for office. I can think back to maybe the age of 7 or 8 years old. And, it's quite remarkable considering the community I'm from, Charise, for a little girl to, aspire to run for public office and not just any public office. I think back then I used to tell people when they would ask, so what do you want to become when you grow up? I would say, I want to be the first African American woman president of the United States of America. Nobody told me I couldn't. So my mom surely didn't tell me I couldn't do it. And so I would say that interest was just always there. And as I became a woman, just certain things that I encountered in the world, just especially being a Black woman and then mom at a very early age, I just knew that the leadership skills and qualities I've always possessed would be useful in public service. And so here we are.
Here we are. I love that. And it's so funny. Mothers definitely are. Well, I know for me and my mother, my mom's my biggest cheerleader. I tell you what, biggest cheerleader. Her biggest thing was always all they can do is tell you no. So she always never ever told me I couldn't do anything.
That's right.
And she always, even to this day, my mom calls me every Thursday and says, another great episode. Cutest thing. She is my biggest cheerleader. And is it not like it takes you through life under knowing that you have the confidence to do whatever you want?
It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful.
It is. So you worked at some major federal agencies.
Yeah.
What are some of the key experiences there that shaped your vision for policy leadership and the communities that you care about?
So fortunately for me, I was able to join agencies that moved missions forward that really aligned with my personal priorities. So around maternal health and affordable housing, things like that. So at HS, I was with HRSA, which is the Health Resources and Services Administration. And that's just a sub-agency of HHS. And my portfolio as a senior legislative analyst, it encompassed federal programs like mainly pipeline programs that look to attract and recruit
Yeah.
and train people of color for occupations within the health professions.
Mhm.
And so for me, just again, it's just always been that alignment there that allowed me to feel as though I'm making a true impact that I know would affect my community, not just here in the Maryland area, but also back home in Texas. And so that was kind of the work I did at HHS, but then at HUD, of course, leading the Title V program. It put me right in the thick of housing policy and looking at some of the programs we have in place to support people who really struggle to keep a roof over their heads. And we can get into this later in the conversation, but let me tell you, a lot of those very same programs, both at HHS and at HUD, that I was able to support in those roles are now under imminent threats. And so, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, well, because those programs provide funding for underserved communities, so
Yes,
we know how that's working.
I love how you put that.
There's that. Well, let's talk about what I consider one of the most powerful chapters of your story because when I heard this, I
Mhm.
was like, she's a bad woman. I got to meet this woman. Woman. I mean, we saw how people give, especially like women, shit for being pregnant and working. Like
Yes,
we saw Rihanna be on the biggest
on.
entertainment
Come
stage,
on.
being clearly over 5 months pregnant
Clearly.
and still moving. But do you
Yes.
see how much flack she caught for that
Yes.
later?
Yes.
Now she's hanging from the rafters, getting ready to put herself in danger, trying to entertain y'all. And y'all, you guys are mad because she's having a baby and she can't do a backflip.
Right. Right.
But what was she supposed to be doing anyway, right?
Right. I completely I rebuke that, as my mama would say. I rebuke the notion that women at any stage of our lives should have to put our careers on the back burner. Men are never required to make those types of concessions. They are extremely costly to us long term in terms of finances, and just our ability to move forward and move upward in our respective careers. And so, no, I absolutely reject the notion that we
And,
could. But I'm excited to.
yeah.
What questions do you have for me? Because I have answers.
Okay. So running for Congress while pregnant, I just want to hear, let's pause on that. What gave you the courage to move? Now, this is going to be a loaded 4-part question. What gave you the courage to actually move forward with it at that time? What made you so confident? Because I mean, clearly you have confidence. You're gorgeous. I know. And you know, that confidence does shine through. I have confidence, girl. Ain't not wrong. I have confidence. we got like what gave you that and what backlash, if any, did you face being a pregnant woman, a pregnant Black woman on the trail campaigning?
So first of all, I didn't know I would be pregnant on the campaign trail. I didn't absolutely
Surprise!
did not plan that or choose that for myself initially speaking. So when I decided to run, I did make a huge decision to step away from my federal career because that was required of me because of the Hatch Act, which prohibits federal employees from being able to run for a hold partisan office. So I made a huge decision to like cut our family income in half, essentially, to run for office. But that was the biggest sacrifice I thought I was making at the time. And when you consider the fact that I've had a history of maternal health challenges and the fact that my husband and I have been trying for many, many years at the point of the decision being made to run, we've been trying many, many years to grow our family to no avail. And we had gone through all the testing and all this stuff. And we pretty much reached the conclusion that it wasn't going to happen for us. And
Yeah.
so I said, you know what, Lord, I'm just going to go ahead and move forward. I'm like, this, I know I'm being called to run it this time. I don't know why, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Charise, see, that was June. So July, August. I found out I was pregnant early September. Campaign in June. Quit my job June. Launched my campaign June, and then found out I was pregnant in September. And at that point, I was already fully committed. And
I mean, yeah, you're all in at that
yeah,
point.
I cried on the bathroom floor. I'm not gonna lie. When I found out, I'm like, oh my god.
Lord, yeah.
it was like, mixed feelings. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God,
you just there's it's like a double edge because you're like really happy, but you had this goal. Now you got to figure out how to do it
yeah.
with this additional like responsibility. Yeah.
Yes. And so courage, I guess that's when courage kicked in to do it while pregnant. My husband was really instrumental in that because he just seemed to have this calm, cool, and collected presence in the moment. He didn't seem to be panicked or anything. He actually seemed really prepared mentally and
Oh,
emotionally. And I'm just
yes.
pregnant. What are the people going to think? Like I'm not going to be taken seriously. But that I think those emotions subsided quite quickly, and I really just refocused and said, you know what, this is an opportunity to put my money where my mouth has been for years, and I've always championed this idea that women are powerful, that we can do anything.
Anything.
We can figure it out. Push come to shove, we can do it. And I picked myself up off that bathroom floor, girl, and I said, let's do it. And so I will say backlash, definitely I felt some. There were people who questioned whether or not I could finish my race, whether or not I would be professional and show up to all of the events, all of the forums that were scheduled for the candidates. And I did. And I will say that, if we were just assessing campaigns based on public engagement, I was at the forefront of the race at every step of the way. And that's evident in the photos that you can see online. If people were to Google me, you'll see that we documented a lot of that experience. And I had hoped that women would draw inspiration from it because, girl, even in 2024, when I was running, there was still this idea that no, ma'am, go home, sit down, have that baby, and focus on your family and leave this to others.
Yeah. I was gonna ask that, like, so where did that come from? Was it like how did the public media or even the political world react to that? Like, where'd you feel the most heat coming?
So, from within my party, there were comments being made to me. And, there were going to be naysayers anyway because I was a Black woman running for the 6th district, which, if anyone knows anything about the 6th district, the more Western you go in the district, the less people who look like me you're going
Yeah,
to
yeah, it's
find there.
definitely not culturally
Yes,
aligned with us.
yes, yes. And so, but surprisingly, that wasn't an issue for me. Not on the campaign trail. Like the people we connected because they can sense a genuine, I would say a genuine attitude that I
You
carry.
care, it comes out.
Yeah, and I am so grateful that people are able to see that because that's really where my heart is, so I didn't feel any of that on the campaign trail from the people. But in terms of the media, I feel like there was this silencing. It was like a disregard because I'm going to say this, and I'll apologize after, and there's people say I'll clean it up after. But I do believe that if I were a white woman, that the news of me running while pregnant may have made more waves. There was a candidate down in the South, and I think her name is Katie Darling, and she was pregnant. Oh my gosh, her experience really inspired me. I wasn't pregnant and running at the time, but I watched her campaign. I was like, she's literally running while pregnant. And she got all this media coverage. And so at some point in my campaign, Charise, I was thinking, okay, well, someone's going to take an interest in this because this isn't happening every day. Nope. I can, the
Yeah.
one,
So you didn't get it. It's like that is a big deal. I mean, if you look at, and I mean, this is a larger stage, but if you look at, remember Jacinda in New Zealand when she was like a mother and she's running the country, that like made a huge. And I mean, there's nothing to clean up. It is a fact. I mean, and I think that goes as well as like the fact with it comes along with some of those same things we hear about when Black women go missing and what like we gonna have a dateline. If it's not us, it's gonna be a date. I say that because I mean, you see it as facts, it's data,
yes,
right?
yes.
And so when you told me, I wish I had a larger platform at the time. Because listen, when it get bigger, I'm gonna be shouting it from the rooftop.
No, that's
I
right.
am. I have a friend, a woman who is amazing, who ran for office while she was pregnant. That to me, now, will I say, yes, we want those everyday opportunities. We don't want it to be an anomaly because it should just be
Right,
I'm running for office.
right.
So there should be. But being that the world we live in, that's just not the case. So it should be a big deal.
And I feel like it was reflective also of a larger issue we're seeing in our country in terms of maternal health in general. I mean, to
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you
I mean,
know this.
and my daughter worked, and my daughter's a nurse practitioner. She worked in women's health for her whole, she worked in women's health as an RN before she went back to grad school. And
Okay.
she works in pediatrics now, but because I mean, I'm sure that was a lot, but she worked in maternal health. And so I
Yes.
heard about it a lot.
Yes, it's crazy. And we spend so much money on healthcare in this country. And
Yeah.
some of the outcomes that we have, especially for Black women, is ridiculous. And so I kind of felt as though my experience was just reflective of a larger problem, like just a disregard
Yeah.
for Black moms, you
Yes.
know? And so, yeah, but I don't feel that I was dissuaded by any of it because it just kind of encouraged me to see it through to the end
Yeah.
because I didn't run for just one election cycle anyway. I wanted to
Right.
run to really
Right.
energize people and show them what could happen. And I think at the time, I'm not sure if you know, but we had absolutely no women in Maryland representing us in Congress. There were no women. So we have 10. We have 10 members of our federal delegation, 8 in the House, 2 in the Senate.
Because we got Angela also Brooks now.
Now,
That was during your
yeah, so we were running at the same time. So that did not happen. So that's really one of the main reasons that compelled me to put my name out there because I'm like, you know what? I am so sick of feeling, unrepresented. And this is no dig to the members of Congress that we had at the time, but I just believe it was just such a disservice to everybody, women, men, girls, boys of Maryland, to not have that representation in Congress, and not only were there no women, but there were also no parents of children that were under the age of 18.
That is so important too, because now there's no representation for people that are looking at education.
Yes, yes. And that's again, it's not to take away from advocates like who really care about these issues. But there is something to be said about having active, lived experience when you are engaged in advocacy.
I mean, that's just the word. Yeah, you got to have representation. I mean, you do. You got to have some representation. Yeah, I would have thought that had been a bigger deal. Now you are showing the world that motherhood and leadership are not mutually exclusive. So I appreciated that. How did you balance your demands as a mother, as a pregnant mother, as a wife, trying to hold a family together during a campaign? Because I think a lot of women that we're thinking about women who run for office, they would want to hear this. Women with children and husbands and lives and wives and, partners and whatever, trans women,
Yes.
we all want to know, how do you balance that?
Child.
Did you balance it? Destiny?
Balance.
That's
I
strong,
will, if
huh?
I'm
Balance
being,
is strong.
listen, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I will say that there was always this effort to maintain balance, but truthfully speaking, balls were dropped at one point or another on certain things. And that's just what happens in life. You can't be 100% present for everything in your life. And so this idea is like, it's like carrying this guilt. I think women do that a lot.
We do that a lot. We have mom guilt, wife
Yes,
guilt,
yes.
child, yes. And even my
Friend
executive
guilt.
coach said that. Yes. And I get work guilt. Like if I'm doing, yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, but my executive coach said this about work-life balance, and I will tell you, it has stuck with me. She
Uh-huh.
said, let's not try to have work and life balance. It
Mhm,
doesn't happen. What
mhm.
we are trying to have is a balanced life.
Yes, yes, yeah. And so you know what? I wish I would have had those words while on the campaign trail because I think I would have suffered from a lot less guilt. But
Yes, you would have.
however, I think just having the support system that I had around me with my husband and my
Yes.
children, so I do have an older set of children too. So I have my baby who's 11 months old now. But at the time I had, my daughter, she hadn't graduated from high school
High
yet. So
school, yes.
yeah, so I had, I think, one still in junior high, and we had 3 in high school. And so, the high schoolers made dinner often,
Oh, well, you had help.
Yeah, I had help,
Well, that is good. You had help.
Yes, they took care. My husband, he often doubled as chauffeur, photographer, and they just also, I think what I really do best in the family is just remembering that we need R&R. And so I would often look for ways to either go for a nature walk with the kids and with my husband or to do date night. And yes, it's a little unorthodox when you're campaigning, but I recognized even then that at the end of this, once all of the dust settles, my family will always remain the most important to me. And yeah, yeah. And
Period. Period. And what's unconventional, like some of the things you have to do. I always tell me and my girlfriend had this talk about her. We were talking, her son, it was, I think he was like 4, and he was
okay,
still trying to come and sleep in her bed. And she was like, girl, I have to get rest. I am a working mother. My husband works. She said, you have to do what's best for your household.
that part.
Everybody's household is not running the same.
Mm-mm.
You have to do what's best for your house. I mean, I'm sure at this stage in the game, I mean, we have grown kids. We have Braylon, who is 13,
Okay.
right? But he still needs a level of attention the others don't. He's much more independent now. But our world, the way we did it 10 years ago, is a little different
Hmm.
than right now.
Yes. Yes.
It happens.
Yes.
It happens. What is a message you would want other women, especially mothers, to hear loud and clear?
Let's see. I would say we often hear now, and I believe it's becoming a bit cliche. We often hear, "Just do it, run." I would say, don't just do it. Think it.
Don't
think it.
just do it.
Don't just do it. Think it through, because a lot of the people who will tell you to do it, and I think they are really well intentioned in that
Yeah.
messaging, but they often disappear when it's time to actually show up. And so what you're going to do is you're going to have to fall back on your day ones. You're going to fall back on your village, and you want to make sure that your village is prepared for that process, because it is a process. But I think that we absolutely need more women running for office. When you look and see what's happening, every major social program that supports children and women, families, they're all under attack right now, looking to cut billions of dollars from the federal budget. That's going to literally take food out of babies' mouths. And
Which
so,
is so sad.
yeah. And so right now,
It
I think,
seems cruel. It seems cruel.
well, you
It
know,
is.
to thinking people, I feel it's cruel. I'm just saying. Because I don't understand it. But in the 118th Congress, out of 541 members of Congress, so this would have been 2022, 2023, only 37 women were moms of children under the age of 18. I'm just trying to give you some context here. Now, in the 119th Congress, the Congress that just started, we have 28% of women, not necessarily moms, but women at
But at
least.
least women
Yes. And
who
so
have potential to become moms at some point.
yes, but either way, they're women, and I just feel like they, it just puts us in a better place than having just men making decisions and trying to figure out things that work best for women. And so there's progress being made, but at the same time, until we reach critical mass, until we have more moms there, we're going to continue to see those struggles. And so I often tell people when they ask me, like, girl, how are you not losing your mind with everything that's happening? There's just so much craziness happening, across the nation right now. And they know I'm in policy. And I tell them, well, because it's time to plan. It's time to strategize, because midterms are around the corner and we can do something about it.
We have a plan. We could have a plan,
Yes.
and I do see it unfolding slowly.
Yes.
I definitely, and I will say this, I definitely, now I think everything that's happening right now is pretty sad. I mean, I'm sorry, it affects communities that I actually very much care about.
Yes.
It actually affects communities that I don't give a damn about, but I still feel bad, right? Like
Yes.
you just feel awful for people having life sustaining things
Mm.
taken away from them without a plan forward, without a
Yes.
communication about what a plan forward would look like.
Yes.
So I definitely feel that, but I will say I see it slowly. Like I had to tell somebody the other day. First of all, y'all, I hate that the news sensationalizes these
Hmm.
executive orders. They really aren't a hill of beans. I mean,
They're mainly just words.
Yes, they're not laws. There are ways. And then sometimes I want to take people to Schoolhouse Rocks, a bill, a bit like how it, I'm like, your people, did they forget how it all works?
Yeah.
So that I do think is like crazy, but I do see slow progress, and I don't like that the news sensationalizes all of these things, because I do think, now I'm not saying it's not bad, but
Mhm.
I do think it is better than it's going in a better direction slowly than is being communicated.
Yeah, and I absolutely like understand it because you're so right. There is process that people don't fully understand, and there's definitely a need for more education on that front. And I think we
Right.
have completely failed our students in the education system by not making
Right.
it more comprehensive, I would say study for them to understand just
Right.
US government and how it functions. But also, the thing that I think is really setting people off is this idea that what you're saying is, and I'm agreeing with you, is these are mainly just words. But under this administration, they're being carried out as though it's law. And so we're already seeing, so I don't know if you know, but I'm currently working with the Children's Defense Fund as the senior policy analyst, I'm sorry, senior policy associate on their federal policy team in DC. And so I'm on calls every day of the week in coalition with nonprofits from across the country. And everyone's kind of like scratching their heads trying to understand why, after an executive order comes down about the Department of Education, for example, why are states now starting to respond as though they have the authority to make these significant changes that really only Congress can authorize? And so the effects of his words, of the signatures on those EOs, is really starting to have this impact locally, and that's scaring
That is
people.
scary.
Yeah, because it shouldn't happen that way because that's not process.
But I think that people are scared. So they like are like, oh, let me go find a
Yeah,
yay. Well, people don't want the and all I can think is this, and I don't know this for a fact. I've never worked in the government, but all I can think is that people are scared that the backlash of not complying to these things will have an effect on their way they run their department, business, state, whatever.
yes, because girl, he's threatening to pull funds, and he's,
Right. And
and
that's what
so
I'm saying. So it's weaponizing kind of like the
yes,
resources of the organization. Wait, not organization, the country where we
yes.
pay taxes. I keep forgetting this is not an organization.
This is not a business, not in the traditional sense of the word, like, but he's definitely treating it like a business. I mean, even with just the slashing of the federal workforce, the way it's been done, so just clumsy,
Oh, very,
and that's
very.
me being generous with that word because I have
I
other words
am too.
to
Girl,
describe it.
I am speaking generous too, just because we all here.
Yes,
I am like, because you're calling people back. What is going on? Did you know what they did?
we probably should have started there, But again, and so going back to one of your earlier questions, Charise, you said what made me want to run. So there were just a lot of different things, but that was also another reason I felt there was this gap of knowledge among members
Yeah.
of Congress, and those like in the civil service who actually understand how agencies are run and how funding is distributed and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we need more people who actually understand that
The
this.
law, the bills, how a law is made, the hopper. I mean, like there are
All of that, and the importance of having adequate funding to run these social programs. Because I can tell you, my colleagues and my former colleagues and I often had to work well past closing time just to get certain things done on time to ensure that services reached the community, and we were often understaffed. And so the idea that now they're going to do this without the staff or to just get rid of the programs
well,
altogether.
that's what'll happen. And no staff, no work. I mean, like, right? Like there that goes. Yeah, I just one of the other things I was thinking about I added this question in here for you because I was thinking about you campaigning.
Oh.
Let's talk fundraising. I mean, I know that's hard enough, but even more so for women and more so for women of color. So what was that experience like, gaining support and credibility from a fundraising perspective?
That was rough. That was probably one of the roughest aspects of the campaign. So you probably heard people say things like, "Oh, if there are two black women or three black women, and that's going to split the vote, or just two black people, that's going to split the vote." I've noticed that that really only applies to black people. You know, like if there are more of us in the race, then somehow that makes it more difficult for people to get behind us because that's going to split the vote. While that is a very real issue, I do think that that kind of froze funds that will have come in because people were feeling like, okay, well, there's no way either of these black women are going to really pull it off because they're going to just take votes away from one another. Rather than getting to know each of us as individual candidates,
People.
yeah, and understanding our platforms and really assessing our ability to lead in this office. I feel like it just dried up the funding sources, and so a lot of the major endorsements went to. Oh, girl, let me make sure how I say this properly. But a
No,
lot of
you can
the
say listen. You can say whatever you want.
okay, because Charise, okay, so for my race in particular, so the fundraising part was complicated for a lot of reasons. One, because we had a very wealthy candidate who jumped into the race, who does not live in our district, and everyone knew it, and so she could self finance in a way that would, I guess, just shut everyone else's ground game down. And so, unless you had money to match that, it was going to be really difficult to get endorsements from the Washington Post, for example. They were looking at your fundraising. And so, when a candidate already has $500,000 just sitting there ready to spend, they automatically associate that with viability. And then that's where that goes. So for the first, I would say, 2 quarters of the campaign, when it would have been really crucial to have that fundraising support and the momentum around that to really build up, we were competing with this narrative that, oh, we don't have money in the bank. So it's kind of like this idea it takes money to attract more money. And so I will say, as a Black woman, it is just very difficult. Even within the Black community streets, I have people asking me, well, what are your chances of winning? And I'm thinking stronger if you get behind me.
Yeah. What are my chances of winning? Y'all are apart. That is funny. What are your chances of winning?
But you would be surprised how many times I was asked that question. And so it forces you to kind of like do this self assessment and then to be able to communicate that in a way that translates to viability in their minds. And what I learned was once it was all said and done, the biggest indicator was what you had in your bank. And so, yes, that mighty green dollar. And so I will run again someday. There's no question with that. But I'm definitely going to do it differently.
Well, yeah.
Definitely.
Well, now you've done it, and now you're like, okay, I know what I need to do to be really, truly successful. You know, it's the money, so you're gonna have to go out and start talking to these people when they got money
Like right now. Yeah,
right now.
I really advise women in general, but then Black women specifically, to build up your war chest early on. Go out and get those pledges well before you even announce, and just make sure people are on standby, ready to fund your campaign when you are ready to launch, because that's when the news media is going to really be looking. The political party that you're affiliated with, and this goes for whether you're a Democrat or Republican, whatever your political party is, they're going to be looking to see how much money you have, and they're going to start determining your viability based on that. And it's just sad, but that is the reality.
I could imagine. I mean, I thought it was that. I mean, yeah, I didn't think it was easy. Could tell you that. I didn't think it was easy. So, we talk about, imposter syndrome a lot on my show, just because I just talked to someone last week. We were talking about imposter syndrome, and there's, it's always that internal voice of imposter syndrome. How did you push past those moments of doubt, especially when you're talking about valuability with money and candidates? How did you push through those moments of doubt and stay grounded in the purpose? Why I'm here, why I want to do this?
Honey, I've been facing naysayers my entire life. And so I can't say that I experienced imposter syndrome on the campaign trail. I've experienced it in the corporate setting, or I should say the professional setting before. But on the campaign trail, I think I met those no's with, well, why not? It didn't feel like the critiques I was receiving were accurate or reflective of who I was as a candidate. I knew
Yeah,
and never lost sight of the fact that I was a quality candidate.
right.
And so I think what really pushed me is just kind of, again, going back within myself and pulling from the seeds that were planted by my mom, by my grandmother, by my
Yeah.
aunties, by my husband, by my best friends, my sisters, who always told me, Destiny, you are destined for greatness. You got this. Own whatever room you walk in, like you belong there and you know it. And I just held on to those words, Marianne Williamson's words, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate,
Yep.
but that we're powerful beyond measure. So just
Yeah.
those things, just keeping those words close to my heart. And then also scripture. Maybe I'm a PK, and a woman of faith. And I knew that, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And I just kept thinking to myself, it's not just me out there.
Yeah.
I'm bringing with me thousands of people who believe in me. Whether or not we prevail in this particular election doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But they will see us and they will feel us. And
And
that,
they will see you again. And this gave you, they will see you again.
yes,
And
ma'am.
then you're a recognizable candidate because you ran before. So, I mean, this is all setting you up for greatness.
Yeah.
Now, can you give me a few examples of policies or initiatives led by women that made you say, yeah, that's the kind of leadership that we need? This is the kind of thing I can get behind.
There are so many examples, but I will say the one I would like to hold up or uplift in this moment would be the Momnibus. That is, it was introduced by Representative Lauren Underwood from Illinois, and she did that in collaboration with Representative Alma Adams. And that is a package of bills, and I believe I wrote it down, so I always mess this up, but the Momnibus has, I believe, yes, 13 individual bills. And the way they've done this is it will address nearly every aspect of the maternal health crisis facing the nation. And I mean, from the way we collect data so that we understand the causes, the root causes, because Black women
Mhm.
should be dying 4 times the rate of anybody. That is crazy.
That's
Black and
insane.
yes, and indigenous women too. Like it is embarrassing. It is shameful that that is the way we're treating our moms in this nation. So just the data collection is really important. And then also women who are incarcerated, moms who are incarcerated, they're often forgotten about. But the Momnibus does this amazing thing with like including them as well. And so that is a type of policy and the type of policy leadership that I really respect. And so I really encourage people to go and look at that package of bills because they are doing the work. They are really doing the people's work without.
Oh my gosh, I love to hear that. Now, piggybacking off of that,
Uh-huh.
what do you say to the woman listening right now who's thinking about public service but feels it's maybe unattainable, they're unsure, or they're overwhelmed? What
Yeah.
what would be your message?
Girl, we need you. We need you. And there are so many ways to get started. Again, I wouldn't say jump feet first or head first even
Feet or head?
into running for an office. But I will say, absolutely start speaking that out loud. Let people know you're interested. That is the first and most important thing because oftentimes they say women have to be asked so many times just to run, before they gather the confidence or find the confidence within themselves to do it. But I say we need you and your lived experience, your life, I would say just your world views. We need all of that because we are still lacking diversity in legislatures, not just at the federal level, but in the state level. I mean, at the state level as well. So in state legislatures, in city councils, like we need more women. And I would say if there's an interest, if there's like even a small fire burning, it's for a reason, baby. It's because we need you.
We need you. Yes. Well, let's talk about sisterhood. How can women show up for each other in politics, leadership, and just in life in general? How do you go about that? I know you have girlfriends. I have
Yeah.
girlfriends. We are making friends together.
Yes.
So how can we show up for each other and be supportive and have each other's back?
Doing exactly what you just said. Show up for each other, have each other's back, be supportive, and recognize that supporting someone is not the same as like marrying them, right? So you don't have to necessarily agree with everything that they stand for. Look at those central and most important themes, that they get behind. And then that's where you concentrate your energy because I feel oftentimes that's used against women to divide us and to conquer is to be like, oh, well, she disagrees with you on this. Or, oh, look how she dresses. If we're going to get even more catty and petty. Look how she dresses. Or look who she thinks she is. No, baby.
Mhm.
We are under attack honey. And unless we get it together, and I mean quickly.
Yes, I agree 100%. Yes, we need to be getting it together, coming up with a plan very
Yes.
fast because, I mean, our rights are under attack. I mean, that is just the my girlfriend the other day said, "Girl, I'm waiting to go in the gas station and my credit card don't work."
See now, see, and those are very real problems.
I was like, "Oh Lord, now you scaring me." Well, in honor of Women's History Month, who are the trailblazers that inspire you?
I usually give a very well known one and then one that is personal to me. And so I will say Shirley Chisholm is definitely one who inspires me. She's well known. And then on a personal note, I would say my grandmother, my mom too, but my grandmother has been this strong and just transformative figure in my life, and in the lives of so many people across our community, and I've just never seen her give in. I think my grandmother may have a ninth grade education at best, but she raised 9 children and she was a career woman. She worked in hair and beauty and she built a life, and we are her legacy. And that to me is just the epitome of greatness. And so I honor her this year and every year, and I honor her just for what she represents for all the women in our family.
I love that. Well, Destiny, you have poured so much into us today, and I want to thank you so much for being here and be a part of the show. And if you're listening and you're wondering if you have what it takes to lead, the answer is yes,
Yes, yes,
Queen.
yes.
Yes, it is. The world needs your voice. We need your vision. We need your brilliance. We really do. So share this episode, support women in politics, and remember, you do not need permission to be powerful. You already are it. Until next time, this is Charise, and this is Queens Behind the Scenes. Stay bold, stay brilliant, and stay unapologetically you.